Okay, um, I am Taalib, and I am your soul brother, as you know. And I must, you know, help to revisit on the subject, as many have, I'm sure, by now in social media, on this latest controversy, which was shown on the Netflix uh, documentary dealing with the assassination of Malcolm X. And, you know, I've already had a couple people I talked to about it because I hadn't kept up much on it. But however, you know, what I understand from my own brief research of what's going on with this situation behind Netflix documenting on the truth about Malcolm X killers is that, you know, I'm still seeing, you know, quirks here and there where the government or the FBI somehow had some connects to this, or how the local police was involved in this, or, you know, but the bottom line is, the truth of the matter is that if anything, when it comes to where Malcolm X killing rootly is tied to, it's the Nation of Islam. There has been no evidence whatsoever, DNA wise, physically wise, to show that the government or the authorities directly had involvement in the assassination of Malcolm X. But we do know that evidence has sprung up over the years of denial, clearly showing that the Nation of Islam had something to do with it. We also know that a couple people did some time over Malcolm X assassination that was connected directly to the Nation of Islam, and who were also registered members of the Nation of Islam, whether they did it or not. Okay. And we even have those in the Nation of Islam who was a part of that outright admitted being involved in Malcolm X assassination. Okay. And of course, the other figure which is mainly the center of this situation, as well as the attention given to this situation, is Minister Louis Farrakhan of the Nation of Islam. And we all know that, you know, those of us that are aware of this situation, we know that he sparked the atmosphere, you know, that set up the, you know, eventual assassination of Malcolm X. You know, because it was already gung-ho, you know, brothers in the FOI of the Nation of Islam that was jealous of Malcolm X and that wanted him dead anyway. You know, so, of course, they allowed their, you know, emotions to get to them, you know, without using any type of logical reasoning behind their actions. And however, it led to them actually having involvement in Malcolm X's assassination, point blank. Ain't no other way to put it, you know. And but moving along though with Netflix, in an article I read earlier offline from a reliable source, was that you know, my understanding now is that this controversy has grown, you know, to become so big, and the Netflix documentary has been out for about, I believe, a week, because people had started talking to me about it last week. Like I said, I hadn't been keeping up with it, of course, before then. But what was said is that now, according to what I even researched, is that the Manhattan District Attorney's Office is looking into actually reopening the investigation into Malcolm X's killing. And when I saw that, you know, that really signaled to me that there are some people still out there walking free, or free dead or not, that plain out got away with cold-blooded murder, and that still have not been brought to justice because of this untimely, unfortunate tragedy that took place about 55 years ago. And, you know, honestly, those of you who claim to want to know the truth, there are those among you who claim to want truth, but say we need to let that man's name rest. And that's true indeed. But at the same time, those who were responsible or had some part directly in his assassination, that is still living right now, as we know, need to simply be brought to justice. I mean, that's only fair, as in saying, you know. And my thing is this, is that I really want to see this in my own lifetime. You know, though that happened over a couple of years before I was born, in the 60s, of course, but you know, I would love to see justice once and for all of those who did not spend a day in jail, like a couple of those who had did time in New York over Malcolm X being assassinated in the auto ballroom in Harlem, you know. And I think that also those who tried to cover for those who should have been punished a long time ago for that ought to be brought to justice as well. You know? And, you know, when I heard, like I said, beside the other theatrics or whatever in the article concerning Netflix documentary on Malcolm's killing. I was glad to know that finally the authorities decided enough with this, because now obviously the truth has been so exposed more that they felt it was a need that this possibly should be reopened as an investigation. And of course, there was the main trigger man, who happened to be a Muslim brother. And he was the main one that pulled the fatal trigger that fatally ended Malcolm's life. And all them years, people did not even realize he was still living on the other side of the Hudson River in the metropolitan New York City area, which I'm very familiar with because I spent part of my days there growing up in the New York City area. And I also commuted to Newark, New Jersey off and on when I was younger. So, there was a strong presence of the Nation of Islam as well as the Muslim community in that city of Newark, New Jersey. And, you had a brother who lived there. I forget his name, of course, but as I remember it, I may bring it up sometime again soon, somehow. But he was the one that pulled the trigger that eventually ended Malcolm's life. And like I said, all them years, people did not know, and as many supporters as Malcolm X had, or those who claimed, rather to say, to be his supporters, who even resided in the metropolitan New York City area alone, let alone anywhere else. And I'm thinking, they didn't even know that this guy was residing in Newark, New Jersey before he eventually passed away years later as a free man. I mean, and then when it was finally brought to people's attention that this man resided in Newark, New Jersey, and that he was walking around scot-free like ain't nothing even happened, and even to the point where his residence in Newark, New Jersey was publicly exposed, no one took action in no way or other, especially action that would have legally got him brought to justice. And it's like, I'm thinking, where was Malcolm X supporters after all? Where were they? If they really wanted justice, all in all, for his assassination, where were they? And you got many of them who's on social media all the time, all over the internet all the time. But where were they when they actually had this information of this guy actually living and actually knew his residence when it was actually brought to them? Nothing happened. Even knowing the fact was that he pulled the trigger that killed Malcolm. Let alone all the other ones who was involved that fired their guns, but he was the main one that pulled the fatal trigger. And he's still free and residing, while 3 other cats on the other side of the Hudson River, on the other side of the NJ-NY state line, doing time in the penitentiary, up in Dynamo or somewhere in upstate New York. You know what I'm saying? You know, but this guy walking around in Newark, New Jersey, free as a bird, damn near. And he the one that pulled the fatal gunshot trigger. And then, decades later, he passed on without even being held accountable for this man's assassination, you know. So like I said, you know, I'm glad that the authorities have decided that they may want to reinvestigate this again. I'm glad. And y'all could call me or Uncle Tom or Sambo or whatever for saying it just like that. Because y'all knew he was still walking around free on the streets of Newark, New Jersey. And y'all didn't do a darn thing to get justice for Malcolm in that case. So why you gonna get mad at me or anybody, as of that matter, who say that they're finally glad, like I just did, that the Manhattan District Attorney's Office is gonna look into this again as a reinvestigation of Malcolm X murder? You know? And to be honest with you, of course, because we know Louis Farrakhan was connected with Temple 25 in Newark, New Jersey, which was a temple that this individual who killed Malcolm belonged to. I'm talking about the one that never was brought to justice, and that lived the rest of his days in Newark as well, until he passed. So, there it is. We know Farrakhan's direct connection to Mosque 25 in Newark. So right there, when the investigation gets going, surely don't be surprised that his name may come up in that investigation. And I'm speaking directly to those who are in the Nation of Islam under his leadership as well. Because y'all have been led to believe all these years, those of you who wasn't even around, let alone born, when Malcolm X got assassinated. You know, y'all have been fed lies about this man, as well as his assassination. And y'all need to understand that eventually, whether y'all like it or not, the truth is going to prevail over falsehood in this case, as y'all say in religion. You know, so like I said before, y'all might as well just go on ahead and embrace for the truth to come down, even if that means the demise of your leader, Louis Farrakhan, who has been for years directly or indirectly implicated in Malcolm X's assassination. You know, so, I mean, I'm finally glad, like I say, you know, that this is, that somebody's finally, and I'm talking about somebody with a legit power and influence that could make something happen as far as this situation, being fully resolved. Because just because them brothers did time, especially the ones who did time and then they got out, every last one of them. So how did Malcolm X really get any justice? And then there's one who's incarcerated for decades, which it was reported that he didn't even do it. And he even admitted in an interview, I believe before his death, that the leadership of those at the high echelon of the nation told him, sit still and stay quiet, and he would be taken care of throughout his whole prison bit. And his words was basically, they ain't sent him a dime. They didn't do nothing for him. So he just sat up in there and rotted for 30, 40 some years. Decades of years out of his life he couldn't get back. And from my understanding, I believe this brother is deceased now. So, like I said, that just show you what the so-called Brotherhood of the Nation of Islam is all about. And, at the end of the day, cats need to be brought to justice. I don't care how old they is. I don't care if they even darn nearly 100 years old. If you're going to make excuses like that, then you should have made excuses like that for people that was in their 80s, like that Caucasian that assassinated Medgar Evers in Mississippi back in 1963. When they finally caught up with him. Those racists that bombed that church in Birmingham, Alabama in 63. That one of them, I think, they got caught up with. You should have been, you should feel that way about them. Don't only feel that way about, a murderer or someone who's victimized a person of soul when they Caucasian. Let that apply to other people of soul, which usually is referred to as black or African American and so on forth, Because they ain't no different. Murder is murder. No matter who the trigger is pulled by. The color of a skin on the same hand that pulled the trigger don't negate the fact that murder is murder. Okay? And they need to be simply brought to justice. And like I said, you can, as a matter of fact, I can even go a little further. You can say that even about the killers of the late Emmett Till, rest in peace. You could say that about the killers of those freedom bus riders in Mississippi, I believe, that got killed in the 60s. And I think they killers wasn't never brought to justice either. You say that about them, So like I said before, at the end of the day, people that were really trying to do something and that was really trying to make real strategic moves to seriously try to do something about the condition of soul people in this country, like Malcolm X, and at least the fact that he died because of what he was trying to do. Him and his family deserve justice. And that's just that simple. You know, and when I think about that, you know, which I'm not going to try to get off the subject, but it does, it can be quite painful on the general level, knowing that his grandson, Malik Shabazz, who got murdered in Mexico a few years ago, would never receive any justice for his killing. Of course, because he was an activist who people saw going in a direction similarly of his grandfather's footsteps, you know. And of course, as the same narrative goes, he had to be taken out one way or another. So, like I said, unfortunately, Malcolm X family still haven't even gotten any justice for that, for his grandson's murder. You know, and like I say, it would definitely be a good thing for once and for all. And I ain't into the feel good business, don't get me wrong, but it really would be a good thing to see them suckers get justice brought to them for what they did to Malcolm after they walked around free, being among, enjoying their families, walking around free, being able to see their grandchildren, something Malcolm X wasn't able to do, you know. So now it's time for them to be brought to justice because of this. You know, and like I said before, I don't care how old they are. If you're wrong, you're wrong. If you need to be held accountable for a crime or whatever it is, then hey, let the chips fall where they may fall. As simple as that. I'm not gonna make no excuses for their damn age. People out here getting caught every day over cold case murders that happened in the 50s, the 60s, and is being brought to justice as I even speak. Okay? You know, due to DNA technology of the day. Okay? So, you know, all that age and stuff and this and that, that don't mean nothing. When somebody is wrong for doing what they doing, they simply need to be brought to justice. And that's just the bottom line to that. You know? You know, because there are a lot of people in the pro-black conscious community, and especially, of course, in the Nation of Islam, who follow Farrakhan, and in the Nation of Islam, period, who could care less if Malcolm X family get justice thoroughly for his killing. Okay? And a lot of them would make that same excuse where, oh, Farrakhan is old anyway, he gonna die anyway, so what? Let it go. No. Him and whoever else around his age that was involved in that's still living, need to simply be brought to justice. You know, I don't know no other way but to put it bluntly in those simple terms. You know, because of the fact that you know, hey, and I'm gonna say this because I believe it was a brother. It was a video I was watching. I think not a few days ago, and I heard somebody speaking about this coming up Savior's Day for the Nation of Islam under the leadership of Louis Farrakhan, that they may not have a big turnout because of this Netflix documentary controversy surrounding Malcolm X killing. And you know, in that case, that couldn't happen to any other better people. I mean, hey, I hope it's just only one person sitting in the audience, wherever they gonna have that Savior's Day at in Chicago. You know? And I hope it ain't none sitting in the audience. Really, to be honest. So that might just, cut into their money for real. Matter of fact, they might need to cancel that Savior's Day. You know? For real. Because a lot of people will be becoming exposed thanks also to the social media, and technology, in the case of social media for what it is today, that people are beginning, as they say in the conscious community, to become awoke to the exact truth of things that they wouldn't have never known if it wasn't for social media. So, I mean, it like I said, just, this alarming news that I just got, concerning this situation, about the Netflix documentary on Malcolm, and also the discussions I had with other people who know about it, and I never got a chance to see the Netflix documentary, but like I said, if I could ever get around to it, the information gonna come out one way or another. So I keep on, seeing what's going on with it as time goes along. But it's a lot of stuff. Even before Netflix even brought this up, it was a brother, that this platform, is familiar with, brother Umar Shabazz, who had been making DVD documentaries that was said to be more in depth even than a Netflix documentary is right now concerning Malcolm X assassination. And I definitely credit that brother Omar Shabazz for making videos and putting out the type of documentaries that he did concerning Malcolm X assassination, because it needs to be put out there for what it is. And from my understanding, I think this brother Omar Shabazz was even threatened by certain people from the Nation of Islam officially because of him putting out, these alarming video documentaries on the Nation of Islam and on Malcolm X assassination, and hey, people shouldn't be scared. If you know about something that the public really needs to know, then come on out there and expose the truth. Ain't nobody scared of them cats no more like it was in the 50s and 60s when both Elijah Muhammad and Malcolm X himself was around. Ain't nobody scared of them like that no more. You know, I could tell you stories about gang members in LA slapping the FOI around right in the mosque and wasn't nothing done about it. You know, ran him right up in the mosque, beating his butt and ran him right in the mosque. I'm talking about a gang member out in LA. Matter of fact, it was said it was a Crip, to be a Crip gang member, a gang leader, something like that, who was actually beating the mess out of a FOI official. I think he was a lieutenant, if I'm not mistaken, too. That was under Louis Farrakhan. And this was supposed to take place at a local mosque in LA. You know. And you know, I'm not going to say if it was true or not, because I wasn't there. But I know one thing, if it was any rumors that the Nation of Islam felt was demeaning and not true, they would step to those who's going around, you know, making rumors such as that. See, back then, if you said something about Elijah Muhammad when he was alive, they came at you strong with straight up physical retribution. And sometimes you wasn't heard back from after that. See, so the Nation of Islam is nothing like that today. There ain't nobody scared of them cats, which is my point, or goes back to my point. You know, ain't nobody scared of them. You know, you got gang members that's willing to step to you and run you right into the mosque without worrying about any type of repercussions coming back. Then that just shows how weak that organization is to begin with anyway. You let a street gang member whoop on one of your fellow FOIs. That ain't supposed to happen in the Nation of Islam. You know. So like I said before, I mean, you know, you going around, you know, threatening other black people that's willing to expose the truth that you don't see as a potential threat. But see, you don't know who they might be connected with that might retaliate back at your threats, you see? So, I mean, this is the thing nowadays. We in 2020. This whole thing done changed over more than 360 degrees. Ain't nobody scared of the Nation of Islam, like a brother always say. You know, but yeah, I just you know want to just see Malcolm's family finally get justice. You know, and it's going to, I mean, you know, as long as people keep on speaking up, I guess, as they have even done for years since Malcolm been gone, I mean, hey, you know, and back to you who say you want people to stop, you know, mentioning Malcolm's name and let his name rest in peace along with him in the grave. Well, maybe you need to help support getting justice for Malcolm so that can finally happen. It's a lot of people's names that's among the dead that's still being brought up because their families hadn't got justice because of how they died or whatever. So that just don't apply to Malcolm X now, you know. But since this is a documentary that came out recently about Malcolm's assassination, then it's going to have to continue to be brought up until the right exact people are brought to justice. And I mean, you know, because if not, we're gonna see another one pass on without being brought to justice, just like that individual that lived in Newark, New Jersey all them years. And to the point where people even knew where his residential address was and didn't do nothing about it. So, I mean, like I said before, you know, it's crazy. You know, I mean, back in the 90s, especially when Spike Lee came out with the Malcolm X movie, you had people walking around with Malcolm X hats, Malcolm X t-shirts, and all this other crap. And then you had people, a segment of people who knew that this individual that killed them existed in Newark, New Jersey, walking around free and alive, and didn't nothing happen to him. That's a travesty in itself. He just basically got away. All what happened to him was he died okay, but he died without being brought to justice. And now as far as where he went after he died, which y'all call in religion spiritual justice or whatever, I don't know nothing about that. I'm not into religions, but I tell you what, I don't know nothing about that and don't care about that. I only care about right now what's happening among the living. Because long as you still breathing, you could take action to make justice happen. You can't do nothing 6 feet in the ground. That's one thing for sure. You can't come back from 6 feet in the ground and do nothing. So I don't know nothing about what's happening after the man then died. I know he wasn't brought to justice while he was still alive. And that's just point blank and simple. You know, and you know, like I said before, you know, hey, I'm just at the point because, and I also want to say this too before I close in this video, that to be honest, to be really honest with you, and the way I feel about it, this should be a blow, as it is, to the so-called pro-black conscious community who perpetuate this crap. Because I'm hearing even that they said in the documentary, some said that Malcolm should have been assassinated. And even went to the point of calling him a snitch and all this kind of stuff. Even those who wasn't even around when Malcolm X was alive saying this, from my understanding, you know? Like, are you serious? Are you really serious? I mean, come on. You need to cut this out. And you talk about you love black people. Cut it out, for real. You don't even love yourself saying something like that. You know? And then you go around talking about how much you want black people to be united and how much you want justice for black people. Well, if you want justice for black people, you should want justice for Malcolm X family. Okay? And that ain't just to be restricted to any type of black person neither. You know, that ain't how we get down from this platform that I speak from anyway. You know. But like I said before, I mean, man. And you know, I have to be honest. it is good to know, at least, since I am in the home state of where this man Malcolm was born, I believe May 19th, 1925, here in the state of Nebraska, it would definitely be a jubilant moment, like the slaves felt when they was told they could freely leave off the plantations, when they were let loose off the plantations. It would be a feeling of jubilance for me, as they would say, I guess, in religion, or as, like I say, the slaves would say. Just to know, living in the state that this man was born in, to watch more people being brought to justice for his murder. You know, because, like I said before, I mean, you know, it's bad. You know, we got to hold these people accountable. I don't care if you is Caucasian or, you know, if you black or what, or Mexican or whatever. You kill anybody that's considered an activist or a leader from among us as a group of people, as a group of which I call people of soul, who are dark-skinned descendants of slaves born in America, you must be brought to justice. That's how any other nationality would do for their own leadership, or those from among them that they want justice for, as far as being victims, you know. So, like I said before, you know, we should apply the same type of attitude and put it in action. And it's just that simple. And stop being cowards and punks about it and making excuses about it, you know. And it's just that simple. And I mean, hey, you know, as far as I'm concerned, you know, even if the feds had infiltrators in the nation, or whatever the case was, whether that was the case or not, we still had a segment of people, and I'm even talking about people that wasn't connected to the government in the Nation of Islam, that was jealous of Malcolm X. Plain old niggas that came off the streets and became FOIs like he did. Okay, whether they came from the streets or the penitentiary, and they was jealous of him, simply because Elijah Muhammad appointed him as the nation's representative at the time, because of the ability, as y'all call it, the articulate ability of him to spread the message that Elijah Muhammad was putting out at that time. Okay, and he chose him all over all the other Nation of Islam ministers. And I remember Malcolm X saying this himself in the book I read years ago. You know, that's one reason why they were definitely jealous of him. You know, so this man had to contend with all that crap. So it wasn't about, even if the government, like I say, wanted him dead, I'm sure they directly did not have no hand in it. And if they wanted him dead, they would have rather the Nation of Islam do it themselves, just so they could say, well, that's at least another Negro we ain't got to worry about. Okay? Because in actuality, it's a lot of intelligent brothers and sisters in the Nation of Islam. I'm sure that wasn't that plain out stupid that they would have known if a government informant was actually a government informant or not, okay? I was processing to become a member in the Nation of Islam at one time under Farrakhan's leadership. I know how them FOIs move. I know their security protocols and how they check stuff out, even when people coming into the mosque to hear ministers speak and stuff. I know how they protocol with security basically go. Because they was training me to be watchful in certain ways and stuff like that. You know what I'm saying? So I know how that go. You know, and you just ain't gon' just everybody just ain't naive is what I'm saying. You can see who's an informant and who's not. So all that is neither here nor there. Farrakhan wasn't considered as no informant at the time. And like I said, he sold the seeds into many for that to happen to Malcolm X. He wasn't considered as no informant or government infiltrator, right? So I mean, come on. We gonna get down to the bottom line of this. Damn it, was it the government or was it just strictly the Nation of Islam that killed Malcolm X? And see, that's why I have questions at when it comes to this crap about the government having Malcolm X killed, you see. Because we know it was people in there long before anything came up about agents being involved in his assassination. You know, and matter of fact, you know, I want to say this. But first, let me continue on with this thought, though. Before Elijah Muhammad died, we never heard nothing about the Nation of Islam. Too much bringing up whether the government had anything to do with Malcolm X's assassination or not. I kept hearing this long after Malcolm X got killed, especially when Farrakhan came around and started becoming more known and popular, is when you heard most people in the Nation of Islam putting out there that the government had something to do with his assassination. And they may have said that or used that to try to, throw people off course by saying that the government had something to do with it so that people wouldn't have a mind of their own to think for themselves to really figure out the truth for what it is, you know. But that's why I'm glad that during that interview on, I think it was on the Mike Wallace 60 Minutes show back in the 90s, when he was interviewing Louis Farrakhan and Malcolm X's daughter at the same time, and she brought up that point clearly, like, look, basically, I know y'all niggas murdered my father. It wasn't no federal agents, it wasn't no government agents, no police and all that. it was niggas in bow ties that looked just like you, okay? Or a little darker than you that pulled that trigger. Simple as that. And she was a little girl standing right there when it happened, right in front of her, when they gunned her father down. You know? So like I said before, and I mean, I have to say, I was even myself naive at a point in time when I was always accepting this, rubbish about the government had something to do with Malcolm's assassination and this and that. But as time went on, and I started really doing my own investigation, even when I was even sincerely trying to process to become a rank and file member myself in the Nation of Islam, and I really started seeing quirks and stuff in that organization that simply wasn't right. You know, it led to me really seeing and understanding more why Malcolm X even decided to hell with that. And even the fact that he decided to come on out and expose Elijah Muhammad for, the allegations against him. As far as him courting underage women, and like I said, it's, man, I could go on and on about this situation. But, it's a sad thing to know when we're dealing with a situation that has been long overdue. And like I said, we gonna get justice for other black people getting killed, especially like in the civil rights movement, like I mentioned in the case of Medgar Evers and them, then the same thing applies to Malcolm X. And it's just that simple. And it so happened to be, as it was pointed out, that it was blacks who murdered him, of course. And more is yet to be brought to justice. So hey, I commend the Manhattan District's office for getting involved in wanting to reinvestigate this situation, And I like I said, I hope that even if it's just one person that got to stand up in front of a jury trial and the judge over this, hey, so be it. That man, Malcolm X family, deserved justice. And it's just that simple. It's more stuff I want to say at this time, because I'm just gonna be honest. I'm just so damn sick and tired of black people. I'm really sick and tired of us, in the weak state that we are, let alone the overall condition of our plight here in this country as a people. But I'm just sick of us being so gullible and weak and just going for anything and accepting anything anybody tell us to say to us when it come to information being fed to us. And we don't think for ourselves. So we go on this rampage of believing some Negroes from way back in the 50s or 60s, especially that didn't like Malcolm X anyway, so we accept what they say and just take their word on face value. And that's just crazy. I even heard one joker in the conscious community in a video a brother had sent me a link to one time. They said that if he was back in that time, he would have killed Malcolm X too. Like, are you serious? If you was around, he say he would have killed Malcolm X, and he don't even know the facts behind the allegations that falsely, led to Malcolm X unfortunately getting killed. But he gonna open up his mouth to say some wild, crazy stuff like that. This is what I'm talking about. And when other nationalities or races see how we look at our own leadership, and I ain't talking about the weak leadership we got today as a people, I'm talking about the stronger leadership that we had in people like Malcolm X and even Dr. King and Medgar Evers and so forth on, and we make negative statements about them to the world, that make them even don't want to have no respect for us. And even to the point they're saying that, we should be oppressed because of the way that we look at people that's trying to bring us out of oppression or trying to create situations for us to get out of our oppressive state of condition like Malcolm X tried to the best of his ability, And if I was from another nationality looking at this going on among our people, I would feel the same way about it. Because it's just low down. It's just really low down, It really is. But with that said, I'm just say shout outs to those of you who will be watching this video when it's posted. Shout out to those of you who are on the Reality Temple, aka Operation Exodus Mississippi platform, and those of you who are acquaintance of ours from this platform. I'd like to send my shout outs to you also, and the rest of those of you in social media who will be checking out this video. And if you have any comments, you could jot them down below in the comment section, and I'll get back with you on it. And, with that said, I'm going to be Oscar La Vista. Peace.